Chapter 61. Till death do us part. Despite being among the top-level first-tier gods, the emotion god knew that challenging the destruction god, who was likely the strongest among the supreme gods, meant he had no chance of winning. Yet, he still proposed the challenge, which meant he had already put his life and death aside. The destruction god's gaze narrowed as he had not expected the emotion god to be so bold at this moment. Young man, will you persist in this delusion? Your talent is remarkable, and you might have a chance to ascend in the future. You should know that if you continue to provoke me, I will not spare you. The emotion god responded coldly. I don't know what delusion means, but I do know what till death do us part means. The sea god is my father-in-law, and the Wu Tongji is my wife. For them, what is the point of holding on to this life? And besides, you might not necessarily win against me. If I win, release my father-in-law and lift the seal. If I lose, what difference does it make to give you this life? The god of destruction laughed and said, Good, good, good. Indeed, you are the man chosen by Wu Tongji. It's no wonder you are the disciple valued by the sea god and the god of emotions. Just this courage alone is worth their favor. If I don't agree, it would seem like I'm up to something. All right, I'll grant your unwavering determination. As the supreme god in front of so many other gods, he could not refuse the challenge from the god of emotions. If he did, it would greatly damage his own prestige. You owl. The life goddess floated in front of the god of emotions, turned around, and looked at him with piercing eyes. Don't make a meaningless sacrifice. The god of emotions silently shook his head and said, Aunt Green, you have already helped us a lot. Let you take over now. Could you please take care of Wu Tongji for me? If I fail, you can tell him that I went to find reinforcements and disappeared. Okay. The goddess of life's body trembled slightly. At this point, she could no longer stop him. No matter how young the god of emotions was, he was still a first-level god in the current divine realm. Sometimes, the dignity of a first-level god was really more important than life itself. The goddess of life gave a bitter smile. Do we really have to do this? The god of emotions shook his head lightly and said, I have no choice. Other gods can leave, but I can't. I also don't want to part with Wu Tongji, but in this castle, my father-in-law, my parents, and my family are imprisoned. I must fight for them. Take care. The goddess of life took the butterfly goddess from him. Her eyes shone with the green light as two beams of light suddenly shone in the eyes of the god of emotion. The god of emotion trembled as a layer of green light appeared on his body. Although it was only a flash, his aura had changed slightly. Go, use all your strength, encouraged the goddess of life. Wrong Nyambing and the seven elemental gods did not leave, and admiration could be seen on their faces. In the divine realm, having the courage to sacrifice one's life in battle was worthy of admiration. Even though this courage seemed foolish and self-destructive at the moment, the god of emotions slowly drifted forward, and as he did, his entire aura underwent subtle changes. The seven emotions of joy, anger, sorrow, happiness, love, hate, and resentment silently transformed within him. A hint of sadness gradually emerged on his face, but at the same time as this sadness appeared, a misty fog rose around him. The mist was not thick, nor did it cause any changes in the heavens, but at the moment it appeared, even the red eyes of the god of destruction underwent a slight transformation. The dazzling mist was not a real mist, but a flame that belonged only to the gods, the flames of divinity, the flame of the gods, possessed by every deity, but only a few dared to truly unleash it, because the flame of the gods is also the flame of their life. It is a truly terrifying flame, the flame of life. When the flame of the gods begins to burn, it also means that a deity has given up their own life. The burning of the flame of the gods also signifies the most glorious moment of the deity's life, about to unfold. In the past, on the Douluo continent, Wu Tongji and I had countless twists and turns before finally coming together. There was a time when I thought I was going to lose her. In that extreme sadness and longing, I created the three ultimate soul skills. Soul skills are what we call them on the Douluo continent, but I also believe that they are skills that originate from my soul. So even in the god realm, I still want to call them that. These three godly skills represent my love and reluctance towards Wu Tongji. At that time, she went by the name Wangdonga, so I named these three soul skills the Haodong three ultimate skills. Chapter 62. Haodong three ultimate skills. The god of emotions had a calm expression and a serene gaze as he spoke, as if he were introducing something to his closest friend. But the misty aura around his body grew denser and more obscure as he spoke, and the seven-ring halo behind his back became hazy and difficult to discern. The god of destruction said calmly, So, you're going to use the Haodong three ultimate skills to deal with me? The god of emotions nodded silently. Originally, I couldn't use the Haodong three ultimate skills anymore because I was already with Wu Tongji and no longer in the same state of mind as before. But now, I may have to leave her, so I think I can once again bring the Haodong three ultimate skills to the divine realm. Please instruct me. As soon as the words please advise were spoken, almost all the gods present felt a shock in their hearts, and their eyes on the god of emotions also changed slightly. The god of emotions narrowed his eyes slightly, and his eyes revealed a hint of strength, but the sadness on his face became even more intense. He suddenly turned his head and looked at the butterfly goddess in the arms of the goddess of life, but his body flew in the direction of the god of destruction. The flying speed was not fast, but in this instant, a series of illusions slowly appeared behind him. There were a total of 7 illusions, each with a different shape. The one leading the group is a woman wearing a white long dress. She is cold, proud, and extremely beautiful, but also extremely icy. She is the Snow Emperor, one of the 7 spirits of emotion that belong to the emotion god, emitting the emotion of sorrow. The Snow Emperor is originally the ice sky snow woman from the Douluo continent. She had practiced for 700,000 years, achieving the status of a top expert. Later, due to fate, she became the soul of the emotion god and ascended to the divine realm with him, transforming into a spirit. Following the Snow Emperor is a woman in a green dress, the Ice Emperor who once exhibited the pride of the ice and snow jewel emperors with her. She is the Ice Blue Emperor Scorpion, representing the emotion of anger. A small, 8-sided grass with ice blue leaves is suspended in the air. The 8-sided mysterious ice grass, representing the emotion of joy. Beside them is a giant ice bear, the Ice Bear King, with a funny name called Zhaobai, representing the emotion of happiness. A single evil eye with a strange glow radiating from it. This is the tyrant of the evil eye, representing the emotion of hatred. A beautiful mermaid princess radiating a gentle spiritual wave, but with darkness behind her, represents the emotion of disgust. Lastly, there is a strange giant bud that is completely white, but has 10 golden lines on its body. It is originally from the Iceworm clan and happened to have slept in the 10,000 years climbing narrow, achieving millions of years of cultivation, calling itself the Heavenly Dream Iceworm. Back when the emotion god was still weak on the Douluo continent, it was with the help of the Heavenly Dream Iceworm that he gradually improved, ultimately achieving the status of a divine spirit. It represents the emotion of love, happiness, anger, sorrow, joy, love, hatred, and disgust. The 7 emotions appeared simultaneously, emitting strong thoughts. Their gaze all converged on the emotion god, and at this moment, apart from their own emotions, all of them revealed a tinge of sadness. When the emotion gods ignited their own divine flames, they were immediately transported to their respective sources of pain. As gods themselves, they could exist independently as long as the emotion god willed it. In other words, even if the emotion god were to die, they would not be affected. However, each of them had a deep emotional bond with the emotion god, except for the evil eye tyrant sovereign who was a special case of fused emotions. All of them had a close relationship with the emotion god. How could they bear to see the emotion god walk towards the end of their life? Therefore, what they could do now was to help the emotion god overcome the current difficulties. Only by defeating the god of destruction would there be a chance of survival. As one, they all radiated incredibly strong thoughts. Under the influence of this powerful force, the god of emotions own divine light became even more dazzling. The 7-ring halo shone brightly and faintly. There seemed to be 2 distinct halos of emptiness. It was as if the majesty of the supreme god was hidden within. Seeing this, whether it was the elemental gods or the primordial sin gods, their eyes widened involuntarily. At this moment, they finally understood why the god of destruction had said that the god of emotions was the foundation for becoming a supreme god. Previously, even under the amplification of the divine punishment array brought about by the descent of the primordial sin gods, the 7 primordial sin gods only made their own 7-ring halo stronger, without any sign of further halo evolution. However, what appeared on the god of emotions was completely different. This was the foundation for ascending to godhood, and it was also the most valuable thing that the gods pursued. The expansion of the divine realm by the god of destruction is closely related to the support of these deities. Only when the divine realm expands, more high-level divine deities are needed to support it, and these ordinary divine deities can become stronger. Those who originally had no potential for promotion may now have the potential to ascend. It is under such interest-driven motives that so many divine deities support the god of destruction. The god of destruction frowned as he watched the god of emotions fly towards him. Chapter 63. Overflowing thoughts. The fluctuations of divine power emanating from the emotion god were nothing to him. He was the most senior generation of the god kings, and no matter how much the emotion god burned with the flames of divinity, there was still an insurmountable gulf between them in terms of divine power. However, the sadness emanating from the emotion god did have some influence on him, to a greater or lesser extent, to be able to affect a supreme god, and especially to affect the emotions of a supreme god who was filled with thoughts of destruction. It was evident just how strong the emotional and spiritual fluctuations emanating from the emotion god were at this time. The god of destruction suddenly raised his hand and pressed down with a palm. In front of his body, a huge black and purple sphere appeared. The sphere was 3 meters in diameter, entirely black and purple with a gloomy aura, as if it were a compressed storm of destruction. The emotion god's face showed sadness as he resolutely shifted his gaze away from the butterfly goddess and looked back at the god of destruction. At the same moment, he punched with his right fist. In that instant, a strong feeling of reluctance and longing surged in his heart as he reminisced about every moment he had spent with the butterfly goddess. In the Douluo continent, the butterfly goddess had disguised herself as a boy and became his roommate. They fought side by side, braving all obstacles. They experienced ups and downs in their relationship and went through life and death together. In the end, they reunited in the divine realm and became a couple. All of these memories poured out from the emotion god's heart, turning into the purest longing and love. How to 3 ultimate skills. The first move, Winter Thought Punch. Thoughts surged like a spring. The thought of Winter Fist represented a momentary longing that was also eternal. Momentary yet eternal, the perception of time. Extreme emotions. Like a moth to a flame, the god of emotions, with his immensely powerful flame of divinity, rushed into the terrifying black purple light full of destruction. The god of destruction's power of destruction was extremely powerful, and all the gods present knew it. In that instant, the god of emotions' body seemed to become fragmented and shattered. The goddess of life also frowned, her gaze tightly fixed on the situation of the god of emotions. Her heart was already filled with guilt towards the butterfly god. If the god of emotions were to die in the hands of the god of destruction, then this hatred would never be resolved. Boom, boom, boom. The big explosion appeared in the next moment. In the moment before the explosion appeared, a hint of confusion and vacancy could be seen in the blood-red eyes of the god of destruction. The destructive storm was transformed into a huge purple black tornado that rose to the sky, and a figure was thrown out from the midst of the destructive tornado. He actually broke out of it. The ice god looked incredulously at the scene before him. When the god of emotion rushed into the sphere of destruction, they all thought that he was finished, and that he had left this world forever. But who would have thought that in just that moment, the god of emotion had forcibly broken open the sphere of destruction, something that even they as first-level gods would not be able to accomplish. The sphere of destruction may have looked simple, but it was actually formed from the destructive intention of the god of destruction's core. Although the god of destruction was arrogant, he would never be careless in battle. As his body spun rapidly in the air, as if affected by the storm vortex, the emotional fluctuations emanating from the god of emotion became even stronger. The 7 great gods behind him remained stable, and each one became clearer than before. The first-tier gods who were watching were all very clear that when these 7 great god spirits all became physical entities, it meant that they had completely cut off their connection with the god of emotions, which meant that the god of emotions had left this world forever. A sword aura soared into the sky at that moment. The sword aura was colorful, but it was not like the light of the element stripping knife. The 7 colors intertwined with each other, and each color was full of a strange texture and a strong emotion. The sword aura was breathtaking, and the voice of the emotional god full of emotion sounded. Second move, remember the winter sword, never forget it. Memories are a very mysterious thing. Everything in the past has been deeply imprinted in his divine soul. During their time in the divine realm, he and she were always together. Even the most ordinary days were the sweetest for them. Her pink blue hair and eyes, her stunning beauty, and endless tenderness, every minute and every second, all permeated his soul. A faint smile appeared on his face as the emotion god felt as if he had returned to the days when he and the butterfly goddess were in the Douluo continent. Back then, he was really foolish. No wonder she called me a fool later. I really was a fool. He had a gorgeous beauty by his side, yet he didn't even realize it and treated her like a male friend. Chapter 64. Never forget. Until that day, at the Sea God Lake of Shrek Academy in the Douluo continent, during the Sea God's matchmaking event, she walked towards me in a long dress. When I saw her true appearance, I felt like a real fool, a fool who belonged only to her. A strong light flashed in the air, and the strange emotion sword, soaked with endless longing, slashed towards the sky. It seemed like a colorful lightning bolt had fallen from the sky. The rising destruction divine dragon was cut in half by the sword and collapsed to both sides, and that rainbow sword light fell straight above the head of the destruction god. The destruction god seemed completely stunned, allowing the sword to fall on him. His body trembled slightly, and the 7-colored sword light turned into purple black, and then slowly collapsed and disappeared into nothingness. The supreme god is still the supreme god, even if the emotion god is exerting 200% of his strength. He is still only a first-level god in front of him. However, at this moment, only the god of destruction understands his own feelings. The emotion god's attack cannot harm him with divine power, but the emotions contained in the attack still affect him. In this divine realm, the only one who can affect the god of destruction's emotions is his wife, the goddess of life. With the thought of Winter Fist and the memory of Winter Sword, the emotions of nostalgia penetrate into the god of destruction's soul world like a sharp blade. Even though the god of destruction's divine sense is as strong as a bottomless pit, he is still infected at this moment. The divine sense of the emotion god is already an extremely powerful existence in the divine realm, and he was already known for his powerful mental strength when he was still on the Douluo continent. At this moment, as his spiritual power erupted in full force, burning with the flames of divinity in his own emotions, unleashing his longing to the extreme, how could it not affect the god of destruction? Longing. It seemed that he hadn't felt this emotion in a long time. When was the first time he longed for something? The god of destruction felt a little dazed. It seemed to be when she smiled at me. Yes, that time when she smiled at me. She was so beautiful, so beautiful. I loved being with her. Only when I was with her could my destructive thoughts be diluted a little. Only when I was with her could I feel the meaning of life. I really missed her that time, so I went to look for her, to search for her. Finally, I saw her. It was really good to see her. Really good. She told me to call her Xiao Wu, and she would call me Xiaozi. Why did this nickname that I should have found funny before become so warm when it was spoken by her? Xiao Wu, so cute, really cute. Later, she became my Xiao Wu, and I could finally be with her day and night. For her, I was willing to give up the destructive thoughts in my heart. She is my beloved wife. The god of destruction's crimson eyes became gentle at this moment, gentle like water. In his pupils, it seemed like he saw the figure of the goddess of life. Feeling something, the goddess of life also looked at him at this moment, looking at his crimson eyes, her gaze becoming extremely gentle. As a fellow supreme god, she naturally knew that at this moment, the god of destruction was being influenced by the god of emotions, but it was precisely at this moment that he was pointing straight to his heart. He was thinking of me, and he was missing me. The person he missed was me, the silly little purple. That time, he came to see me, standing in front of me foolishly, looking at me without saying anything. It wasn't until I asked him why he came to see me that he finally said he just wanted to check on me. His appearance was really silly, representing destruction, the destruction of everything, but in front of me, his destructive nature seemed to have collapsed. I enjoyed seeing him collapse, because only at that moment could I feel his most sincere feelings. Destruction is not just the opposite of creation, it is also the starting point of something new. I asked him to call me Xiao Wu, and I was willing to help him alleviate the impact of destruction on the souls of the gods. I thought he would sneer at this nickname, but he seemed very happy. His terrifying red eyes became extremely gentle at that moment. Perhaps it was that momentary gaze that made my heart fall. The goddess of life looked tenderly at the god of destruction in the distance. He may be crazy and domineering, with a strong desire for power, but even so, he is still my Xiaozhi. What I love is Xiaozhi. What he loves is Xiao Wu. Xiaozi, murmured the goddess of life to herself, softly calling out these 2 words. And at this moment, the sky was changing rapidly, and the eyes of the god of emotion had already turned into a rainbow color. A vertical eye on his forehead had opened, but no one knew when. Black and white light intertwined and tangled together, leaving an imprint on his palms, and he pushed both palms out at the same time. Under the reflection of the rainbow light, he had transformed into black and white. Chapter 65. Lifetimes. What kind of power is this? At this moment, a feeling of fear appeared in the hearts of every god and goddess, including even the life goddess. The third move, Winter Fist, life after life. As his palms pushed forward, in the eyes of the emotion god, there was a reflection of the butterfly god's figure. His smile became even gentler, as if holding the hand of the butterfly god, accompanying her through the cycle of life after life. Winter Fist, one of the 3 ultimate moves of the Haodong skills. The black and white colors were his legendary divine skill, brought from the Douluo continent to the god realm, and after receiving help from the sea god, it underwent a sublimation. At this moment, the 2 ethereal rings of light above his head solidified, one black and one white. He actually possessed the power of the supreme god, even if only temporarily. It was still so terrifying. This one strike seemed to be enough at this moment, because the god of destruction was still immersed in his own state of nostalgia, soul deprivation, fate's bane. This was the meaning contained within the black and white dual colors. It could temporarily nullify the defenses of divine power and divine consciousness, a terrifying existence. Since completing the sublimation of these 2 great divine techniques, tricks. The god of emotion had never used them. There was no opportunity to use them, and with his current level of cultivation, he couldn't use them anyway. But at this moment, facing the god of destruction in front of him, facing the deadly situation in front of him, he finally used them. He knew that only by defeating the god of destruction could the situation be reversed. Xiao Zi. Suddenly, a call sounded. The god of destruction, who was in a state of longing, suddenly came back to his senses. What he saw was a pair of caring green eyes in the distance. Xiao Wu, murmured the god of destruction. A faint smile also appeared on his face. She still remembers me. She still has me in her heart. He smiled and raised his hands, welcoming the black and white palms of the god of emotions. Puff. The expected big explosion did not occur. Instead, there was a soft sound. At this moment, the misty aura surrounding the emotion god's body dissipated instantly. The black and white colors penetrated the destruction god's body, temporarily turning him into those colors. However, that was all there was to it. Afterwards, a powerful and unparalleled purple-black light curtain separated the emotion god's body from the rest of the scene, completely blocking the colorful light. This purple-black color shrouded the emotion god's body and sent him far away, back to the side of the life goddess. To his surprise, the emotion god realized that the flames of the gods burning within him had been extinguished. Although a strong sense of weakness spread throughout his body in an instant, there were no problems with his divine soul that should have been destroyed or even directly ignited. He used the power of the supreme god to extinguish the flames of the gods that I had ignited and recompressed all of my outputted divine power back into my body, instead of killing me. When the goddess of life called out those two words, the god of emotion knew he had failed. He could only defeat the god of destruction when he was lost in his obsession. But once he regained his senses, there was still a qualitative difference between him and the true almighty god. At that moment, the god of emotion felt despair. He felt that his life had come to an end, but the despair lasted only for a moment. The next moment, he was back beside the goddess of life. I'm sorry. The goddess of life said softly, and then she placed her right hand on the back of the god of emotion. Something inside the god of emotion seemed to be ignited, and the strong aura of life instantly sublimated. The god of emotion only felt that the divine power he had just consumed was being restored like a dashing spring under the influence of the strong life force, and his body also returned to normal. The goddess of life returned the butterfly god in her arms to him and said gently, "Never abandon your loved one, no matter what. Lies cannot deceive her. If you really leave this world, she will not exist in this world anymore." As she spoke, the goddess of life turned slowly and bowed to the first level gods in front of her. "I'm sorry, everyone." With those 5 words, she quietly flew towards the direction of the god of destruction, her face filled with remorse but her eyes filled with joy and love. Emotion god looked blankly as Xiao Wu returned to Xiao Zi's embrace, and as the two supreme gods held each other tightly. In that moment, he didn't feel despair, but rather a strange feeling. His disgust towards the god of destruction seemed to have diminished a lot. The call from the goddess of life just now had certainly resolved Emotion God's final attack, but at the same time, it also saved his life. If that attack had really hit, the god of destruction might have been injured and failed in this battle. However, Emotion God, who had completely burned out his divine flames, would have died without a doubt. The backlash of the god of destruction's own destructive thoughts, coupled with the overdraft of Emotion God's burning divine flames, would have been enough to completely obliterate him from this world. Chapter 66. Once Xiao Wu. And so, in the end, the call of the goddess of life saved his life, but the situation before him had completely spiraled out of control. The goddess of life had returned to the side of the god of destruction, and even if she wouldn't fight against her own, she could never stand against the god of destruction again. It was over. Everything seemed to be over. The eyes of Tang Wu and the 7 elemental gods dimmed as they gazed at the castle in unison. The era of the sea god seemed to have truly come to an end. Perhaps the god of destruction was right. The god of emotion hugged the butterfly goddess tightly, his eyes dull. Yes, he had tried his best. Even his courage had been drained, because he didn't have the courage to do it again, to abandon the person in his arms again. He couldn't bear it. Mom. Suddenly, the butterfly goddess slowly opened her eyes and softly called out. At this moment, she was like a newborn baby, murmuring and yearning. The emotion god's heart trembled at her soft call. He already had a deep understanding of the principles of heaven and earth, and after hearing the butterfly goddess's call, he seemed to suddenly feel a sense of perception, a feeling that came from the changes in heaven and earth. Something was about to happen. Something was definitely about to happen. The dim light in his eyes suddenly rekindled, and subconsciously, he looked in a certain direction. The butterfly goddess followed his gaze and also looked in that direction. The core of the god's forbidden land, the ancient castle. The emotion god felt it, and the two supreme gods with higher cultivation naturally felt it too. The destruction god and the life goddess, who were immersed in their spiritual connection, both lifted their heads and looked in the same direction. In the life goddess's eyes, there was a sense of sorrow, as if the words as expected could be read from her eyes. While in the destruction god's blood-red eyes, one could see shock and surprise. He couldn't understand what kind of change could happen at this moment, and if there were any variables that could change everything in front of them. Wah, wah, wah. 3 loud cries rang out, and this sound shook the hearts of the gods like the sound of morning bells and evening drums. Every god present could hear this sound clearly, and also feel a special fluctuation from it. It was the wave of the birth of life. A brand new life was born. His crying was so loud and his breath was so pure. Yes, a little life was about to come into this world. At this point, butterfly god had fully regained consciousness, and she subconsciously covered her mouth, her eyes brimming with tears. Mommy gave birth. It's Mommy. I am a rabbit. My mom calls me Xiao Wu. I live carefree in the starry forest, enjoying happy and joyful days every day. Our soft-bone rabbit clan is not powerful in the starry forest. Fortunately, we have our mommy. Mom said she had a difficult life in her early years, always having to avoid persecution from various natural enemies. Fortunately, she was lucky and survived. Mom said if you want to live long, you must be careful and cautious. Even though she had cultivated for 10,000 years, she only moved around in the mixed area of the starry forest and didn't dare to approach the deeper core area. As for the dangerous areas, she didn't even dare to think about them. As Mom's cultivation became stronger, the natural enemies in the starry forest became fewer and fewer. Although we, the soft-bone rabbit tribe, are not powerful, we have been practicing for a long time and are still very capable. Mom said she married Dad when she was 50,000 years old. Dad is a proud rabbit who was born 5th, so he was called Xiao Wu. Later, I was named Xiao Wu, which was derived from Dad's name. Dad was really lazy and didn't even give me a nicer name. Dad was very proud and also very powerful. Mom said that at that time, Dad had already cultivated for 100,000 years. For soul beasts like us, being able to cultivate to 100,000 years is a sign of great strength. Dad said he was going to the core circle of the Stardow forest to live among high-level soul beasts. But Mom disagreed. Mom was very afraid that they would encounter powerful and ferocious soul beasts that would eat them. But Dad was really proud. He didn't listen to Mom's words. Dad was naughty and not a good child. He went anyway. Since then, he never came back. Woo-woo. Xiao Wu is really sad. Mom is also very sad. Xiao Wu has seen Mom secretly crying more than once, crying so much that she can't even swallow delicious carrots. Xiao Wu accompanies Mom and tells her that she still has Xiao Wu. As long as Mom doesn't allow it, Xiao Wu will never follow in Dad's footsteps and will not take risks by going to the core area. At this time, every time, Mom would hold Xiao Wu and gradually become happy. Xiao Wu really likes the look in Mom's eyes at that time. It's really gentle, so gentle. Chapter 67. Once Xiao Wu. My mom and I live happily in the big forest every day. Thanks to my mom's protection, Xiao Wu rarely encounters natural enemies, and even ordinary soul beasts dare not attack me. Later, I made 2 good friends named Deming and Erming. It's really strange that they look very different, but they are still brothers. Deming is a small green snake and Erming is a small gorilla. We are all about the same age, although Deming seems a little older and Erming seems a little younger, and Xiao Wu is in the middle. However, I soon didn't want to play with them anymore because they grew too big too fast. In just 10,000 years, Deming became thicker than a tree trunk, and Erming was like a small mountain. But Xiao Wu was still so small. Don't play with them, Xiao Wu. They're too big, and you're a little scared, I said. But they always kept pestering me, saying that even though I was small, I was very cute. And, in the future, when we all cultivated for 10,000 years, we could still transform into human forms. Later, Xiao Wu learned that Deming belonged to a race called the Sky Blue Bull Python, which was very powerful and had top-level bloodlines among soul beasts. Erming was a titan ape, also with top-level soul beast bloodlines, and their bloodlines were much stronger than Xiao Wu's. The reason why Deming and Erming are brothers is that when Deming's family encountered their natural enemies, his parents died, and they were saved by Erming's father, which is why they became brothers. Deming vowed to always protect Erming, even if it meant sacrificing his own life. But Erming said he would also use his own life to protect me. me. I was so happy and let Erming put me on his big head and pat his head. Erming didn't get mad and just smiled foolishly. As time passed, we grew up day by day, and Erming, and Mom became stronger and stronger. But one day, Erming and Erming told me that they were going to the core area because they belonged there. That was the world of the strong. They invited me to go with them and promised to protect me. But could I go? I couldn't. Mom wouldn't let me go, and I couldn't bear to leave her. I had promised Mom long ago that I would never take risks and go to the core area. So, I couldn't go. I had to stay and accompany my mom. Erming and Erming stayed with me for a while longer before finally leaving. They were really annoying, always so combative. I'll ignore them, won't talk to them anymore. They didn't want to stay with me. They left, and Xiao Wu was so worried. She was worried that they would never come back, just like her dad. They were so bad. Xiao Wu cried for a long time. It was on that day that Xiao Wu saw a strange creature. They walked on two legs and walked so fast, waving their two front legs. What was on their body? Mom said it was called clothes, something only humans have. Humans are really strange. Why do they have that halo on their bodies? Mom said that halo comes from killing our spirit beasts. Xiao Wu was so scared, and Mom protected me and kept me away from them. Mom said that on our Douluo continent, humans are the most frightening creatures. They always come to hunt and kill our spirit beasts, turning us into their power to make themselves stronger. Humans are so bad. But Mom also told me that humans have taken over the entire continent, and there are many strange things and special things in their world that we don't have. Later, that group of humans entered the core area, but after a few days, only one injured woman came out. She seemed to be on the verge of death, with severe injuries likely caused by a powerful soul beast. That day, while my mother was out looking for food, I couldn't help but approach her, since she was already injured anyway. She looked so pitiful, her eyes pleading for help, like those weak soul beasts on the brink of death. Xiao Wu was a little scared at first, but soon became more curious. Then she touched her with little to no reaction. Xiao Wu then found some grass that she usually ate which had healing properties. She then fed the grass to the human, and after she ate the grass, she seemed to be better. She made strange sounds to Xiao Wu, which turned out to be the language of humans. When Mom came back, she was going to take me away, but the woman was kind and wanted to give us something. She was badly injured and pleaded with us for help. Mom eventually agreed, and we helped her heal. During that time, clever Xiao Wu learned the language of humans from her. Xiao Wu was so smart, she quickly learned the language of humans. Then she listened to her stories about the human world. Wow, it turns out that the human world is like that, so rich and colorful, with so many fun things. Xiao Wu is really curious. It turns out that not all humans are bad. Mom also learned the language of humans from her, and then Mom even used her soul power to transform into a human form like her. It turns out that we, soul beasts, can transform into a human form after 100,000 years of cultivation. It's really fun. Chapter 68. Once Xiao Wu. One day, Xiao Wu will also have to cultivate for 100,000 years. The woman left, and Xiao Wu was unhappy. There was no one to tell her stories about humans anymore. Deming and Erming came back, and Xiao Wu was happy again, but she ignored them. They had been gone for so long and only came back to see her now. They bragged to me about their glory in the core area, but Xiao Wu didn't want to hear it. She hated them. They stayed with Xiao Wu for several days, and she asked if they could stay longer. They looked at each other with a disdainful look. No way. Who cares? Then they left, leaving only Xiao Wu and her mother. Mother said, humans are too dangerous. That woman may come back because I am a 100,000-year soul beast, the most coveted by humans. Then Xiao Wu and her mother moved to a faraway place, but they still didn't enter the core circle. Xiao Wu was worried that Deming and Erming wouldn't be able to find them, but her mother said that their abilities were strong and that they were not originally from the same world as us. During that time, Xiao Wu was very unhappy. The usually happy life seemed to have added a kind of emotion that humans call boredom. After some time, one day, Xiao Wu suddenly felt that she had become very powerful, as if something had broken inside her body, and the power of the great forest seemed to have poured into Xiao Wu's body. Xiao Wu's mother told her that she also had a cultivation of 100,000 years, and that there were no more enemies in the mixed area. Xiao Wu's mother began to teach her, telling her that as soul beasts, after cultivating for 100,000 years, they would face a great calamity once every 100,000 years. If they could not pass it, they would fall. If they passed it, they could live for another 100,000 years. There was another way, which was to be reborn as a human, shedding their beastly body. However, in that case, cultivation would have to start from scratch, and it would be very dangerous. They also could not be discovered by humans. Mom knows that I want to go to the human world. She has always known. The next day, Mom left. She only left a message in human language saying that she went to find Dad. It's been tens of thousands of years. Mom, can you still find Dad? Sobbing. Mom, where are you? Don't leave Xiao Wu alone. Xiao Wu is still your Xiao Wu. But no matter how Xiao Wu cried, Mom never came back. She never came back. No, Xiao Wu can't take it. She has to go find Mom. She must go find Mom. And so, Xiao Wu entered the core area of the Douluo forest. The core area was really scary. The soul beasts here were so ferocious that they attacked Xiao Wu as soon as they saw her, even if they couldn't defeat her. That big bear was so powerful, Xiao Wu couldn't beat it. Was Xiao Wu going to die? Deming and Erming came, and they were really great. They drove away the big bear and saved Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu asked them to help find her mother, but they just looked at her silently without saying a word. They told her that her mother had entered the center of the Douluo forest's core area, a place even they dared not enter lightly. Deming had tried to search for her, but he saw her being eaten by a huge monster. Sobbing. Mom. Dad. Xiao Wu kept crying for a long time. Only in her dreams would Mom and Dad come back to her. When Xiao Wu was tired from crying, she would fall asleep. So she just kept crying and crying. Deming and Erming took care of Xiao Wu all the time. They said they would always protect her. But without Mom, Xiao Wu had no home. This place was no longer her home. And so, Xiao Wu decided to leave. She didn't want to be a rabbit anymore. Xiao Wu wanted to go to the human world. She wanted to become a human and see the world that she had always dreamed of. Mom, I will always miss you, my dear mother. Xiao Wu arrived in the human world. My name is Xiao Wu, the dancing Wu. Wah. Xiao Wu. A gentle voice called out, accompanied by the cries of a baby. Mom. Tears flowed down Xiao Wu's face. You still have me. A blue robe enveloped her in a warm embrace, and the familiar comfort of his arms made her tears disappear. Big brother. Xiao Wu leaned into his embrace, a smile on her face. Yes, her mother had left, but after entering the human world, she had met him. It was he who made her feel the warmth of home again, and who kept her from losing her way in the human world. He had accompanied her all the way to the pinnacle of humanity and eventually beyond, to the divine realm, where he became a supreme god and ruler of the divine realm. He was her husband, the sea god, the Shura God, Tang San. Chapter 69. Unsealing. Tang San gently embraced Xiao Wu, his handsome face filled with a happy smile. Where's our child? Where is our baby? Xiao Wu anxiously called out. Tang San extended his other hand and presented the small life in his arms to her. It was a chubby little fellow, still pink all over, but emitting a faint fragrance. The scent was very peculiar, refreshing, and entering one's nose, it gave a kind of indescribable sense of pleasure, as if from the rebirth of new life, one could feel the most primitive breath of life. At the final moment of giving birth to her and Tang San's love child, Xiao Wu had a hallucination and recalled the things that had happened to her on the Douluo continent. A smile appeared on her pretty face as Xiao Wu said, "He looks so ugly. He must look like you, but it's okay. At least he's not a little rabbit." Tang San's mouth twitched and 3 black lines seemed to appear on his forehead. What little rabbit? You've already become a god through your cultivation. How could you have a little rabbit? Are you the birth mother? Newly born babies aren't good looking. They need time to grow. Wasn't it the same with Wu Tongji back then? The baby's cry was particularly loud, wah wah wah, but in Tang San and Xiao Wu's eyes, there was only tenderness. It's a boy, Xiao Wu said joyfully. She already had a daughter and had longed for a son. Now, her dream had finally come true. Tang San nodded and said, "Let's name him Wu Lin. According to our previous agreement, he's Tang San and Xiao Wu's Liner, Tang Wu Lin." Xiao Wu suddenly chuckled. "Do you think if this little guy also chooses to travel to the mortal world in the future, he will hate us for having so many strokes in his name?" Handing the child over to Xiao Wu, Tang San gently stroked the baby's head and murmured to himself, "Some things are finally beginning." Xiao Wu looked at him in disbelief, but Tang San nodded to her. Then he lowered his head and gently kissed his son's forehead. As he stood up straight, it was as if a mountain had risen from the ground. He slowly turned around and looked out the window of the castle. With a flick of his right hand, a red light appeared. It was a droplet of blood red liquid, which looked like only a few drops, but was faintly shining with golden light. The golden light was soft, but it had an indescribable aura. Tang San pointed with his right hand and the droplet of liquid flew to his forehead, imprinting on his brow. The blood-red color slowly melted into his skin and a little golden light shone from Tang San's forehead. At first, it was just a point, but soon it became a golden halo that slid down from his head and fell to his feet in an instant. Under the influence of the golden light, Tang San's body was also rendered pure gold. Tang San lifted his foot and slowly walked towards the window. His speed was slow, but clear crackling sounds kept ringing from his body, as if something was disintegrating on him. With each step he took, a halo rose up behind his head. 9 steps, exactly 9 steps. When he arrived at the window, 9 halos had already risen. Pieces of debris seemed to slide off his body, falling to the ground and dissolving into strands of smoke. There were purple, gold, and faint black and bloody colors. After everything had fallen to dust, Tang San seemed to have become translucent, and his whole body was filled with an indescribable quality. He raised his hands and gently pushed open the window. A gentle breeze blew in from outside the window, brushing his azure blue hair, but not a single gust of wind entered the room and disturbed Xiao Wu, who was holding her child. It's been a long time, everyone. Tang San's soft voice rang out, not loud but spread far. The gloomy sky gradually cleared up, and the sky became brighter. The light scattered in the blue sky, and although the divine realm had no sun, it was never truly dark. At this moment, the brightness was so transparent that it seemed to wash away any trace of darkness from everyone's hearts and souls. The originally calm gaze of the god of destruction turned dark again, and his strong thoughts of destruction surged upward. However, no matter how powerful his destructive thoughts were, they could not affect the patch of azure blue sky above the castle. With a flash of blue light, the sea god had already flown out of the castle, but he did not fly towards the god of destruction. Instead, his right hand made a gesture in the air and a golden light appeared, revealing his sea god's trident. The god of emotion and the other gods who had already lost hope were suddenly filled with hope again upon seeing the sea god's sudden appearance. Being able to summon the sea god's trident meant that the sea god had regained his divine power. The darkness had passed, and dawn had finally arrived. Daddy. The butterfly goddess shouted and was about to fly over, but was held back by the god of emotion. Wu Tongji, don't disturb his majesty the father-in-law. The god of destruction stared at the sea god with a piercing gaze and said coldly, I didn't expect that even under these circumstances, you could still break through the seal. It's truly amazing. It seems that I still don't understand you enough. Chapter 70 Battle of Ideologies. The sea god smiled calmly and said, actually, you don't have any loopholes. It's just that there are some things you don't understand. So, you didn't do anything wrong. I just thought of some things more than you did. The god of destruction looked at the sea god in confusion. The sea god held his trident in his right hand and said, after you repeatedly proposed to me to expand the god realm and I rejected it, I could feel your resentment growing deeper and deeper. I know this is not a good situation. If not handled properly, it could lead to turmoil in the god realm. I also know that you don't believe the premonition I spoke of. In fact, even I can't convince other gods. After all, it's just a vague prediction that can't be pinpointed. But my premonition is indeed getting stronger and stronger. The crisis is probably not far away, and it's coming soon. I know I can't convince you, and your resentment is also becoming stronger. That's why I said to you that if my premonition doesn't come true within a year, I will listen to your opinions and proceed with the expansion of the god realm. Speaking of this, a touch of melancholy appeared on the face of the sea god, but in the end, you couldn't wait that long and you acted. You acted suddenly and were well prepared. However, whether you believe it or not, I also have a premonition about your actions. In fact, I even indulged you to act, because a huge crisis that could threaten the entire divine realm is getting closer and closer to us. If we cannot resolve the internal conflicts within the divine realm before it arrives, we will only be in more danger. To resolve that disaster, we must first work together. That's why I want your resentment to erupt and then find a way to resolve it, so that we can unite the divine realm once again. After pausing for a moment, the sea god sighed. However, I didn't expect you to be so determined. Perhaps it's really because I made you feel threatened. You even used the power of the forbidden land of the gods. Although you only used that power to seal me, did you know, under your touch, that seal can be broken? The power of the forbidden land of the gods that you released has already affected some of the divine beasts around the forbidden land, and even some of the disappeared divine beasts have appeared. This means that the forbidden land of the gods may be unsealed. If that really happens, you will be the culprit of the divine realm disaster. The god of destruction glanced at the life goddess beside him and snorted. Stop spreading rumors here. The seal of the forbidden land of the gods is fine. How could it be broken? The sea god shook his head lightly and said, we don't know if it will break or not, and this is not the time to discuss it. Destruction god, it doesn't matter if you seal me, but even if you want to expand the divine realm, why expand it to such an extreme? You actually want to expand the god realm by 3 folds. Do you know that this is already the limit that the divine realm's accumulated thought power can reach? The destruction god said, of course I know, that's why I did it. By expanding the divine realm as much as possible, the divine realm can absorb the thought power of the lower realm to a greater extent, making the thought power of the lower realm strengthen the divine realm and make the divine realm stronger. What's wrong with what I'm doing? The sea god sighed and said, what's wrong? If my premonition is correct, then you are completely wrong. You don't want to believe in my judgment at all. But destruction god, no matter what, I am also a member of the divine realm committee. Even if you don't agree with me, you should understand that everything I do is also for the divine realm. The god of destruction's facial muscles twitched slightly. He had to admit that expanding the divine realm to the greatest extent possible was in large part to spite the sea god. He wanted to prove to all the gods that he was right. The sea god said, you chose the perfect time to launch your attack. It was just when my child was about to be born. At that moment, nothing was more important to me than my child. Even if I had been prepared, I could not have won against someone who had already taken every precaution. I had to compromise with you for the safety of Xiao Wu and our child. At that time, I still had a glimmer of hope for you in my heart. But as you imprisoned me in this god-forbidden place and used the taboo power of the god-forbidden place to seal me, my last hope for you has gradually faded away. I know that you have truly lost yourself and been completely invaded by the idea of destruction. The god of destruction looked coldly at the sea god and said, victors are kings, and losers are thieves. Talking more is useless. Since you can break through the seal, let's see who will come out on top. Do you really think that you can reverse the situation with your own power? Even if Xiao Wu doesn't participate, you still won't win against me. These people who came to help you don't have much combat power left. How can you compete with me? Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.